Fighting games are often criticized for being too complicated. The genre is known for having complex mechanics, rosters of 30 plus characters, and 6 button control schemes. While the developers at Iron Galaxy sought to buck the trend and develop a fighting game so simple that it only requires 2 buttons. The core gameplay of Divekick revolves around 2 buttons, dive and kick. Dive makes the character jump in the air, and kick makes the character perform a falling kick. Pressing kick while the character is grounded makes the character jump backward. It really is that simple. In fact, connecting with a single dive kick instantly KOs your opponent and ends the round. There is no blocking and no combos whatsoever. That is not to say that players do not have more options. The game features a kick meter, which allows for the execution of special moves and the activation of a mode called Kick Factor. Players can also choose from a small selection of gems that boost certain attributes of their character. As with any other fighting game, the character a player chooses will impact the gameplay. Some characters jump higher than others, some have horizontally angled dive kicks, and others build meter more quickly. All of these simple mechanics combine to create what is surprisingly a deep gameplay experience. Make no mistake about it, Divekick is a fighting game. Every fighting game ultimately boils down to good positioning and decision making. Divekick just gives the player less tools to accomplish these goals. It takes the complexity of the genre and simplifies it in a way that anyone can learn and grasp. There are a few issues with the gameplay, however. For some odd reason, the collision in this game just bugs out at times. There are times when the characters on screen just cleanly pass through each other. This happens much more often than it should and can make the game very frustrating to play. Divekick was made by fighting game fans for fighting game fans, and includes all the features you would expect from your standard fighting game package. The roster is very impressive considering how basic the game is. There are a total of 13 playable characters. The characters are mostly parodies of existing fighting game characters or fighting game community personalities. They are mostly unique and stand out on their own. Story mode functions like that of any other fighting game. Each character has their own unique prologue and ending, along with rival battles complete with dialogue. There is also the dreaded cheap final boss. What separates Divekick single player from other fighters is its focus on humor. The overall attempt at humor is very hit and miss. The jokes and dialogue can be witty at times and simply corny at others. The funniest jokes are the fighting game community inside jokes, so it helps if you are familiar with the FGC.
Easter Egg wins!
No, you cannot.
Divekick also features character tip sheets in the options menu that gives a quick rundown of each of their characters and their abilities. It's far from a proper tutorial mode, but still a helpful resource for learning the characters. Versus mode is where most players will be spending their time. The game has your standard offline and online offerings. Online Versus features the basic player match, rank match, and lobby options. Sadly, a replay feature is absent, so players can't record their most glorious Divekick moments. As far as netcode is concerned, Divekick is very serviceable. The majority of the matches I played online were near lagless. The few lagging matches I did experience were downright terrible though. Playing against someone with a bad PC and ping rating can be an absolute nightmare. It is difficult to gauge character balance for this game because of how diverse the roster is. With that said, some of the characters do feel overly gimmicky in that their moves are more flashy or unique than functional. I found that the more gimmicky the character, the worse they appear to be. On the other hand, more straightforward characters feel strong and less affected by matchups. Overall, multiplayer in Divekick is very fun and can be very intense when 2 equally skilled players go at it. Playing offline is of course preferred to playing online. Divekick is most lacking in the presentation department. Quite honestly, the game looks more like a flash game than a paid downloadable title. The graphics are not terrible, but they definitely are not up to standards. The characters lack much detail, and the animation is very simplistic. Thankfully, the audio is much more satisfactory. The music in Divekick is very catchy and reminiscent of the old school Street Fighter II background tracks. Sound effects are appropriately exaggerated and brutal. The somewhat cheesy voices work well with the satirical tone of the game. The one-liners the characters spew out can be quite humorous,
What do you mean I can't ban in this game?
with my favorite ones coming from the character Kick.
It's gonna be raining black people today. I got a Grammy for Best Beatdown or Metal Album.
Them thighs!
Divekick can be very hit or miss in many areas. The bottom line, however, is that the game succeeds where it matters most, and that is delivering a fun and satisfying gameplay experience. For such a simple game, there is a ton of depth and strategy to be found. It deserves credit alone for being able to break down the competitive aspects of fighting games to their purest form. Some of the characters do feel overly gimmicky. Online versus has some hiccups, the humor is very subjective, and the presentation can be laughable. But that stuff doesn't matter as much when the game is so fun to play. If you have ever been interested in fighting games, but were intimidated by their complexity, Divekick comes highly recommended. For existing fighting game fans, you can't go wrong with Divekick. The jokes will make sense also.